Hello Internet, I am the hero of Julius once again with another One Piece chapter summary. This week's chapter is chapter 1037, Drunken Dragon Bagura. What's interesting about this chapter is it's not really so much, I am going to summarize like I usually do, but a lot of theories have popped up because of this chapter, mostly due to the fact that most of the chapter is just a fight scene. But we'll get to that in a moment. The art for this week is the second in a series that is called An Emotionless Excursion. Chapter 2, Judge Sighs. That's pretty much it. You see Ichiji, you see Reiju, and then you just see Judge just standing there at his, at the castle wall, and he... So, we know Germa Double Six survived the fight with Big Mom's crew. We still don't know how Jinbei got away, but if Germa Double Six got away, it's pretty safe to assume that the Sun Pirates made it out as well. Though maybe it's the Sun Pirates' sacrifice that got through. Whatever the reason, we know that this either took place immediately after Jinbei got out of there, or this is taking place during Wano. We'll need a couple more context clues before we fully know the extent of that. What I find the most interesting about this is the title is An Emotionless Excursion. The fact that it focuses on the term emotionless sounds more like it's going to focus on Sanji's brothers than Germa 6 as a whole. Maybe this could potentially be a redemption arc? While I doubt they're going to grow hearts or anything, you could think that since Sanji is starting to gain some of their traits, maybe they're going to start gaining some of his. It might be like the scene from the Jim Carrey version of The Grinch where, like, when the Grinch's heart grew, he, like, convulsed in pain. Even better, it could be like Zuko from Avatar The Last Airbender, where he was like, oh my gosh, I'm the bad guy, and I want to be a good guy. And then he got sick and almost died. Remember that scene in Avatar, that episode where Zuko literally almost died because of emotional conflict? This could possibly happen to Sanji's brothers. I'm there for it. I'd like to see it happen. I don't think it would redeem them as characters, but seeing them gain any emotion might at least make them more interesting to watch. Aside from being super strong, they really didn't bring anything to the table except for they used to punch Sanji as kids. But enough about that. Let's get into the actual chapter itself, which begins at the Fire Festival, which is starting to come to a close as many people are lamenting. And apparently the Fire Festival ends with a lantern ceremony where everybody writes their wishes on a lantern and then they throw it up in the air like that kingdom from Tangled who... the name of that kingdom aged like fine cheese. But unfortunately, what I think is going to happen is once they light their lanterns and they all throw them in the air, they're going to have this beautiful display of lanterns lighting up the sky, and then the light of the lanterns will reveal Onigashima heading towards them like the moon from Majora's Mask. Everyone will panic, and that will be when Momonosuke shows up to save the day by holding Onigashima above his head and pushing it away. So, again, I think it's starting to become obvious that that's going to happen. I've seen some whispers that maybe he'll have the same pose that Odin did when he was holding his vassals in the pot of boiling Odin. So, that would be kind of cool. That'd be thematic, and it would definitely be nice to see a small theory coming true. But that's pretty much all we get on the Fire Festival. The bulk of the chapter is Luffy versus Kaido, which we've all been hoping to see for a while. And Kaido is drunk. We cut to it. We see Kaido's just chugging down, throws his gourd to the side, and Luffy's like, are you seriously drinking at a time like this? And Kaido goes, oh, I'm sorry, did you want some? Luffy, obviously not much of a drinker, charges Kaido, tells him, hey, you better not count being drunk as the reason you lose. And Kaido says, on the contrary, the only reason I'm drinking is 'cause I respect you. If you think about it, when Kaido fought Big Mom, way back at the, I think during Act 2 of Wano, they got drunk like halfway through the fight, and that's what caused them to like form their alliance or whatever. So I think it's pretty safe to say that when Kaido likes a person, he gets comfortable and even to the point of getting drunk. During Kaido's drunken state, though, we find out that he is basically a master of drunken boxing, or drunken dragon Bagara, as he calls it. It's just a fighting style where in his happy state he like weaves past Luffy's attacks. In his angry state, he blasts his Boro breath on high. He's got his crying state where he lashes out in all directions, and then he's got his kind of just, it's not crying, but it's a sad state where he sort of just sits and he mopes because, oh man, we're doing a lot of damage to the castle and I'm gonna have to rebuild and it took me so long. Personally, I reverberate with that Kaido because I am a sad drunk. I get very mopey, which is why I don't drink a lot. But enough about the sadness. The drunken fight between Luffy and Kaido rages on to the point where down below they actually start seeing the roof, or I guess in their case the ceiling, cracking. So if this fight continues, Luffy and Kaido may be bringing this fight down below. Which would be cool because then that would go back to my theory of all the Straw Hats getting together and ganging up on him. But, you know, I'm still holding on until that happens because I didn't get my Katakuri cover story. I got Germa 66 instead. So I got to hold on to what theories I can, people. But that's pretty much it for their fight. It's just an update on their current combat. Luffy hasn't whipped anything out new. Kaido, aside from being drunk, hasn't really done anything different. So it's still a clash of kings up there. What really gets the theory crafting going in this chapter is when we cut to the Five Elders. Yeah, all the way over in Maryjois. The Five Elders are discussing how Wano is progressing. They even go far as to boldly assume that Nico Robin surely has been captured by now because CP0 could never lose, just like CP9 could never lose, just like Gecko Moria could never lose, or that the world government's main naval base could never lose, or, you know, they really are pretty full of themselves at this point to think that anytime Luffy's involved, the plan is going to go perfectly. But whatever, they think Nico Robin's been captured because they sent CP0 to handle it. They also mention that because Kaido's there, Big Mom's there, you know, a war like this, maybe some unnecessary people, maybe some inconveniences could get erased and no one would notice. What's interesting about that is, who are they talking about? Are they talking about a CP0 agent who they hope dies during the conflict? Are they hoping about Drake? Because CP0 knew what Drake was about, which made them want to kill Drake. So is Sword like a splinter cell that the world government doesn't approve of? Maybe it's Drake that they're talking about? Or maybe it's Who's Who because they finally found him and the guy who failed to get the Gum Gum fruit hidden. Whatever the reason, they are planning on using this as a cover-up for the death of someone who probably shouldn't have died. Which is interesting. I'm interested to see who it is they're talking about. As they're talking, we cut back to Wano, or at least the ocean around it, where the marine ships are all prepared to attack, you know, when whoever wins, they're going to attack that person when they leave. But they see an ominous shadow in the distance. So the way the text box look, I'm not sure if they're communicating with the Five Elders or if the Five Elders just happen to be talking about the same subject matter. But there is a big ominous shadow emerging from behind the naval ships. At the same time, the Gorosei, the Five Elders, are talking about a devil fruit that has not been awakened for centuries upon centuries. And it's a myth, even to them. But another one of the Five Elders mentions, why would the world government erase the name of this devil fruit and give it like a cover-up name if they weren't afraid of it still existing? just as they're talking about this devil fruit being a major threat, we see the shadow of a giant elephant appearing behind the naval ships. I mean, obviously, the only giant elephant we know of is Funkfeed, the giant elephant sword that listens to the powerful Spandam. And Spandam must have found a way to awaken the elephant fruit, and now his sword is as big as Zunisha, and they are going to come crashing in and take his rightful place as the leader of CP0. No, it's probably Zunisha. That's the slightly less likely, but you know, if it happened that way, I'd probably believe it. Zunisha is probably showing up to help Momonosuke, since with the whole voice of all things, both Luffy and Momonosuke could hear Zunisha, but only Momonosuke could tell Zunisha what to do. Maybe Zunisha... Maybe when Momo told Zunisha to attack Jack, that broke the command of keep walking, and now Zunisha is just free to roam? If that's the reason, then I don't know what they're going to do with a giant elephant on their side, but Zunisha can get around. I mean, it took the entire arc to get here, but if you count Whole Cake Island, that was like a good maybe 3 weeks of time, like in One Piece world. And then Wano's probably been another 4 weeks. It took Zunisha 5 weeks, maybe 2 months to wander from wherever Zunisha was to Wano. Or maybe Momonosuke called out earlier. I don't know. But whatever the reason, Zunisha is here. And judging by how the panel is lined up, Zunisha is connected to the devil fruit that they're talking about. So Zunisha combined with what the elders are talking about, it could lead to... It could be related, it could be unrelated. This could be a fake out. If it is related to Zunisha, perhaps it is regarding Momonosuke and the power of Kaido's devil fruit. If it's Zunisha itself, could it be maybe Zunisha was a person who ate an ancient devil fruit and grew to the giant size, maybe awakened, or through some other devil fruit power was forced to walk for thousands upon, or not thousands, but hundreds upon hundreds of years? If it's Zunisha, they're talking about just an animal in general. Maybe it's Tama's devil fruit? Because Tama's devil fruit hasn't been seen in hundreds of years due to it being hidden in Wano. And finally, it could be completely unrelated. It could be Zunisha showing up to wreck some stuff because the Minks have finally figured out how to pilot their giant elephant, and it's unrelated to the Gorose's conversation, and instead the elders are talking about the Gum Gum fruit because Who's Who is on the island, and they're like, man, we can get rid of Who's Who, the guy who messed up the Gum Gum fruit, and somebody else goes, well, wait, what if the Gum Gum fruit is actually blah, 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 and he goes, well, that's impossible, that devil fruit hasn't been around for centuries, and they're like, well, what if that's the reason why the government changed its name to the Gum Gum fruit? Maybe Luffy's devil fruit has some hidden potential we don't understand. But whatever devil fruit they're talking about, we're gonna have to find out in a couple weeks, because once again, no new chapter next week. We're getting all those breaks out early in the year, so I'm hoping maybe next week, I'll come up with something else to do, but the week after, may we see like 3 weeks in a row of chapters? Who knows? But as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.